Hello, and welcome to the 2018 Johto League Draft Recap. I'm here with Mike, Ronnie, two previous champs of Johto League. Mike is our 2018 reigning champ, Ronnie the last year's champ, 2017. And I'll be your moderator, Johnny. I've been champ of the league twice, so we got some pretty good talent here on the call. Don't you think, guys?
Yeah, Johnny, pretty select crew. The Champions crew is very small. We just included Mike this first time around, but the rest of us are actually either two-timers or serious contenders always. So welcome to the club, Mike.
I appreciate it. It's first time drafting after winning a championship. See how hard it is trying to get your former glory back from the previous year.
Oh, yeah, and plus the pressure's on now. I mean, all eyes are on you to see if you can repeat.
Well, so we are actually got to come take it.
Yep. And so we are part of Johto League. It's a group of 10 guys. We've had a few people come in and out of the league over the years, but for the most part, we have a pretty solid core. Everybody knows each other from college. And how many years has it been now, Ronnie?
It's the 9th year, coming to the 10th next year. Yeah, 9 years that we've known each other now.
Yeah, for sure. And I really appreciate the consistency that we've had in this league. The competition has always been top notch, and everybody comes in knowing exactly like what they want, and they're very competitive. I just like the really high level of competition. What's your favorite part about the league, Mike?
Oh, man, the draft got to be my favorite part. Just seeing everyone's got their competitive juices flowing, done a lot of research, and then once you get into that draft room, everyone's like talking crap, you know. Everyone is keyed in, focused, and once it's all over, it seems like big weight off your chest, and then everyone can sit around and talk about their team for the rest of the night.
Now, that seems to be like the best weekend. We always joke around it's the best weekend of the year is draft weekend. And this 2018 season was a little bit curtailed. We had kind of limited with people's schedules, but we still got the full draft in person. For those that don't know, it's a 10-man league head-to-head, most categories, and we play 9-cat. Play 7 teams make the playoffs, so number 1 gets a bye, and then 3 rounds, including the championship. We do have an IR spot, 13 active roster positions. And am I missing anything, Ronnie?
No, that sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I would just say it's just a group of basketball nuts and nerds who just can't get enough. We either live too far away or just are too lazy to actually play. And we needed something to channel our love for basketball into. It's what the league is. A group of basketball nuts and nerds.
Yeah, I'm sad I didn't get to participate in playing ball this time, but that's usually like the way to kick things off is hoop, party, beer pong, and then talk crap about each other's drafts. That's the best part.
Really
I'll move right into it. This is our first time trying a podcast, and I just want to move into this discussion about, let's paint a backdrop here about the NBA and fantasy landscape. I mean, every year the NBA changes, and with that, the fantasy landscape changes. I guess we'll start with Mike. What do you think are the biggest changes in the NBA landscape, things that impacted you on your draft prep?
And just thinking back about when we first started in 2010, how far the NBA has come with like positionless basketball, and it used to be every team had a big center down the middle, and centers would be the hot commodity. Now it seems like everyone is shooting threes. Every single team has increased their pace. Everyone's trying to outpace each other. It used to be just the Suns, and now it's every team, the Pelicans, Rockets, now the Bucks are trying to increase their pace. All the big men now are shooting three-pointers. Andre Drummond hitting 2 to 3 threes a game during the preseason. It's crazy. So I would say big change now is there's more stats because all the teams are playing faster, and efficient big men still hard to come by. But go ahead, Ronnie.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. I couldn't agree with you more. We prepped differently for this pod, and yeah, you just stole the words out of my mouth. The move to small ball, for me, has been the biggest change in terms of like trying to consider how to prep for the draft. It's essentially shifted all these positions upward. So power forwards to centers, and small forwards to power forwards, and centers to honestly out of the game. Joakim Noah was like a second or third rounder at one point, right? He can't even get picked up anymore. But I mean, back to like the shift just upwards, right? Like some people just go nuts over, say, like a Bobby Portis because he's a power forward who shoots a couple threes. But without realizing it, you could kind of get a similar player who used to be a small forward, but is now a power forward, say like a Harrison Barnes. And so, like for me, keeping that in mind, I made sure not to reach too high for bigs, who I thought stats could be more easily replaced with this shift to small ball. A couple years ago, it was hard to get someone that shot above 2 threes a game, right? Or I'm sorry, made 2 threes a game. Now, who doesn't, right? What guard doesn't shoot 5, 6 threes a game and make at least 2?
Yeah, I mean, look at Blake Griffin. He was a point power forward, playing down low. Now he's making 2 threes a game. He's playing like a shooting guard. Like if you look at his stats, it's like a shooting guard stats.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And so are you guys looking at, when you talk about this move to small ball and all these guys shooting threes, are you devaluing three-pointers now going into the draft? Is that something that you're not even looking for in your top or early round picks?
I think that there's still a lot of value in these volume shooters, right? So if you get a Harden or Curry, right, that essentially saves another spot for another that could contribute elsewhere, right? So doubling the value of like normal average player who hits 2 threes per game. So it's still huge to get these threes, but if you don't get them, if you draft the big man in the first round, it's much easier to supplement it going forward. As opposed to back in the day, if you missed out on Clay, right, it's game over. But now, if you don't get Clay, you can get a KCP, you could get a Tim Hardaway, you could get a Courtney Lee, someone that would hit 2 threes per game or around 2 threes per game to add it. Whereas back in the day, it was death knell if you couldn't get him early.
I like that you brought up Klay Thompson.
Those specialists
this year. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying those specialists like Klay Thompson, like Gary Harris, their values seem to dip. Like Ronnie said, they're easy to get. Those stats are placed, off the wire and other places further down the draft. You don't have to go so high for them anymore.
Yeah, and I was about to say, Klay Thompson is the prime example. I mean, this year I drafted him in the 5th round, middle of the 5th round even. And in previous years, because of his elite field goal percentage, elite three-pointers made, doesn't hurt you anywhere else, he would get marginal blocks every now and then. He'd go in somewhere in the 2nd round. And this year to see him fall all the way to me in the 5th round, I saw him just sitting there. I was like, what is going on? Am I doing something wrong? Am I missing something? And, yeah, I just had to take him there.
Yeah, it's insane how the value of these players shifts from year to year. And even 2 years ago, right? We saw Hassan Whiteside going first round 2-3 years ago. Now you can get him in this 5th, 6th, 7th. Insane. Small ball's really changed everything.
Yeah, so kind of segues into my next question for you guys, and I guess we'll start with Ronnie this time. From a fantasy perspective, were there any situations you wanted to avoid? I'm thinking about, for example, players that are in bad situations or injury risk, or players that are providing categories that are no longer as valuable.
Yeah, no, good question. Coaching used to be the biggest thing for me. The year that, or the most recent year I won a championship, I had Cat and Wiggins, and I specifically targeted them because I knew Tom Thibodeau was going to be the coach, right? and knowing that he'd ride them into the ground bull style. Minutes played, still the most important stat in the game, even in fantasy. Now, though, coaching has we've moved more up tempo and small ball. I focus actually more on usage rate, how the team dynamic plays into that. Are they going to be consistently dependent on others to get them set up, or will they be option 1A, 1B, and 1C? And that's a big part of how I drafted, focusing on who brings the ball up, who touches the ball, and the supporting pieces around them.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good indicator, usage rate, and where do you find those stats? Are you drafting with like some kind of tool I don't know about?
Oh, yeah, I do have I'm using a tool that other people don't have. My own brain, like that's all I got.
Come on.
there is a part of it too where usage rate actually comes in play, where it's just like the players that are the most fun to watch also tend to have the ball the most. So for me, I just chose, especially early on, I chose players that I wanted to watch, right? Like, I mean, as great as, like, Karl Anthony Towns is, would I really want to watch him over at James Harden? No, man, I got to choose Harden.
Yeah, I got you. What about you, Mike? Was there anything you were trying to avoid this season when you went into our draft?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't inherently think about, I did inherently think about usage rate. I didn't have the numbers in front of me, but like teams that have a lot of top tier talent, such as the Celtics, for instance, I kind of didn't really know how to rank their players, how to place their players. Like they have Kyrie, Gordon Hayward coming back, they have Tatum and Jaylen Brown and all emerging and all wanting the ball. So I felt like that was one particular team that I didn't know how the usage was going to stack up in the end. Like during the preseason, Jaylen Brown was jacking up shots, getting a high usage, but
Just getting him in there while
when the regular season comes around, then Kyrie probably will take those shots,
Yeah, but I mean, don't you see the Celtics as a team kind of like the Warriors, though? Kind of a bunch of talent, everybody eats. You don't see that happening on Boston this year?
Yeah, no, I mean, they have younger players. They're obviously not as good as, Steph, Clay, and Draymond. Those guys get more assists. They tend to move the ball around more, better natural passers. Celtics, to me, they have a lot more just gunners, like Jaylen Brown. He doesn't really pass the ball that much. He just, straight lines to the basket and gets buckets in transition. So it's a little bit different. But, yeah, I think they'll eventually get there, just not this year since they're still pretty young and it's only their second year playing together. And plus, Gordon Hayward's coming back and, that's just another, variable into the equation that don't really know how to account for.
By that same logic, Mike,
he's used to being the alpha.
By that same logic, Mike, is that why you were trying to maybe stray away from drafting like a team from like Golden State or, I don't know, the Lakers?
No, I mean, I just kind of knocked them down a little bit, if anything. I'll draft anyone if, at the right position. Golden State, I do kind of tend to avoid them just because, their players don't really have as much upside as some of the other players in the draft. You kind of know where you're getting. So from that perspective, I like to draft a little bit more players on the rise, a little bit more exciting players to watch. Not a better feeling to get that breakout player and have everyone in the league say, "Oh my God, Ben Simmons. No one thought he was going to be that good." So I tend to try to gravitate towards those players, whereas the Warriors.
Well, the Warriors are only playing three quarters, right? Like 3 quarters into the blowout.
Yeah, that too. But they can still produce in those 3 quarters, so that's the crazy part.
Yeah, definitely a good thing.
Yeah, so I guess that'll be fun to watch.
Right. Yeah, if you turn the game on in the 4th quarter, like it's over. You're not going to be watching your player anymore.
That leads me to my next question for you guys. What player or team are you most excited to watch this season? I mean, we know there are a few storylines going in. I want to say, personally, I think the Lakers for me. I've always been a Lakers fan since I've been watching Kobe growing up, and having the Lakers be relevant again, that's my most exciting thing. That's one of the reasons I had to get LeBron this year in the first round, was because I was going to be watching Lakers games anyway. So might as well watch all the games my first rounder plays. What about you guys?
That was literally, we haven't talked at all, Johnny. That was literally my goal this time around. I wanted to trade down specifically to draft LeBron. The intrigue of LeBron on a new team and shifting the entire dynamic of just not just like the young players and their roles on the Lakers, right? But the entire league is just going to be too fun to watch. Are they going to actually play fast? Something that peak LeBron has only done a couple times in his 15-year career. What is LeBron moving off the ball? Is he going into the post? Is Brandon Ingram going to be a better Robin, or at least one who wants to stick around than Kyrie? Like, what happens if Rondo outplays Lonzo, right? And ultimately, how long is it going to take until the next LeVar blow up? It's just going to be must-see TV. I had to get a Laker, man. I couldn't sleep last night knowing that I had a chance to draft Lonzo Ball and chose goddamn Reggie Jackson over Lonzo Ball. I was barraging.
What were you thinking?
Text. It was just the worst thing ever. Like, I didn't sleep till like 2 or 3 last night. I just sending texts, trade offers, or in my head like, oh, it was brutal. But no, Lakers must watch TV.
Hey man, you got Kuzma
right there with you.
6th man of the year.
Yeah, Kuzma's yeah. I don't know how he's gonna.
Hey
perform.
man, every time he plays me, he's gonna perform. Trust me. But last year, every time Kuzma played against me, he would just go off. I don't know if that was when Lonzo was injured or Julius Randle was injured or what, but every time Kuzma played against me when he was on your team last year, he just destroyed me. I'll never forget that. But only when he played me, though. I think he just fell off. He got dropped like next week.
And that's a great thing, or a good point, right? Like, Kuzma blew up when people got hurt and his usage rate was extremely high. It's not going to be that high anymore, right? It's not with LeBron, not with all these like strange personalities, if you will, on the team. It's going to be super interesting to watch. I would
hey,
also.
If you tell me Kuzma won 6th man of the year, I wouldn't be surprised. If you tell me he's like not even playing by the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised either. Anything happens with this team, that's all you got to watch.
For sure.
So, Mike, what about you? Which team or player are you most excited about?
I actually did have the Lakers written down as well, but another team I've written down, as much as it pains me to say because I'm a Rockets fan from Houston, is the Mavericks. Just go watch the backcourt. And it even pains me even more since some dude in our league got Luka Doncic that wasn't me.
Dude.
So some dude. I don't know.
This dude on the call with you?
Something like that.
Great White Hope, man. I'm telling you guys, it's funny that we prepped differently and we all chose the exact same teams. Yeah, Luka he's brought some hope, guys. We've been floundering the Mavericks since 2011. Dennis Smith Jr., he looks like a changed man out there. Efficiency-wise in the preseason, can he keep it up? Like, the Goat, greatest European of all time, he's coming off the bench for the first time ever. Is he even going to get off the bench? Is that good? Is that a good thing from a winning perspective? Guys, we've got some hope now. It's amazing.
I mean, I don't think
it's great to know that we have some
games. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I said it's great we have some good non-homer, unbiased fantasy basketball opinions on here.
Yeah, I mean, y'all aren't going to win any games. Don't get twisted, but it'll be fun to watch. I just want to see Luka. I want to see DSJ. I wasn't too high on DSJ last year, but now it looks like Carlisle is his best friend, which intrigues me because it didn't seem like a Carlisle player. Remember when he shunned Rondo and basically just kicked Rondo out the team during the playoffs. Dennis Smith, just by looking at him, you might think he's like a hothead gunner player, type player, but he's been killing it. He has a coach's blessing, so I want to see how he does, especially with Luka Doncic, like the most hyped European player, I don't know, ever.
Possibly ever.
Possibly ever.
Fair, yeah.
So,
all right, guys.
Yeah,
well,
I want to see it happen.
For sure. It's going to be exciting for change in Dallas. I want to move us on into the draft review. This is probably my favorite part. And, of course, every draft we spend hours kind of just staring at the board. If you were to come into our draft room after we're done, you just see 10 guys just blankly staring, like in deep thought, looking at reaches, steals, and that's what I want to go over. So we've got our draft order. We do a snake draft in 10 teams and 13 positions. With the draft order this year, we had Vin get the first pick, Ronnie goes second, followed by Unu with a third, Tim 4, my fifth. I was sixth. Mike got 7 this year, not a end around pick. Joe with 8, Min
not
9, and finally Twim. Yeah, that's exactly it. So what I want to do is go team by team. I want to get your take. Who was their biggest steal? Who was their biggest reach? And who was your favorite pick overall? So if you guys have the draft board in front of you, I know people listening to us probably can't see it, but if you were to pull it up, the draft results of the league. Let's start with Mike, I guess. Mike, what do you think about Vin's draft? Who was his biggest steal?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you start off with number 1 pick and get Anthony Davis, you're starting off on the right foot. His biggest steal actually came in the 8th round for me. It's going to be Lou Williams. Just because I think he was ranked like really high on that ESPN board, and I know every time everyone picked, it looked at Lou Williams and they somehow passed on him. I don't know how he slipped to the 8th round, but I mean, he finished 44th last year overall in 9-cat. He averaged 20 points per game, shot 6 free throws per game at like 85%. So to go at number 80 overall, that's pretty crazy and pretty good value. I think he's point guard, shooting guard eligible. That's just great value for him to get a 20-point score in the 8th round.
Didn't it seem like everyone was just kind of playing chicken? Like, I'm going to wait to pick him because no one else is going to get him. But then someone else passes, like, all right, I'm safe. I can go another round and not have to pick him up. He was definitely there. Like on the ESPN rankings, like you said, it was way up there. And I just kept seeing everything's taken. It's almost highlighted, right? When you're looking at the sheet, the draft sheet. And what about you, Ronnie? Do you agree with the best pick? Biggest deal?
Like as the guy who traded Lou Williams last year, I cannot sanction that. But yeah, Lou Williams at 8 was at the end of the 8th round was amazing. Although I actually am going in another direction. I'm a big proponent is that when you draft a superstar, when you draft your first rounder, you need to build around him. And with that mindset, I actually think Jarrett Allen was Vin's best pickup. Steady improvements all year last year. That pace the Nets play is going to do wonders, right? As he got more and more playing time as the year progressed, he started to pick up. Man, he's got the potential to surround AD with the blocks, the rebounds, the percentages, all necessary for AD to shine. And that's why Jarrett Allen's is my favorite pickup of his.
Yeah, you're right. Mid-round value there, and potentially early round value because he doesn't really hurt you anywhere, like you said.
Right. Yeah. The lack of TOs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Looking at his draft, though, do you see anywhere where Vin reached?
For me, I think there's like a clear inflection point where Vin was doing solid, doing well, and then that turn kills you sometimes, right? Like where you suddenly get sniped, and then you have 2 players to pick, right? I think that turn killed Vin in the 6th round with Torian Prince. I know there's all these articles listing him as a sleeper and everything. I'm not a fan. In all those articles, they focus on the last 20 games, where it's like, oh, Prince averaged 20 points per game and 5 assists and all this and 2 threes per game. But for me, I'm looking at it like, what happened the first 62 games? Where was he then? So Prince for me is where in the 6th round I think Vin lost a little bit.
Okay, what about you, Mike? You agree with that, or you have someone else in mind for Vin's biggest reach?
No, I had someone else. I mean, Torian Prince to me is a little bit of a reach, but some experts, quote unquote, were high on him. So, and I know he'll get pretty good usage on a Hawks team that's not really competing for anything. So I think that's why if he needed a wing, it was okay. I mean, I wouldn't have chosen him at that point, but I can see where he was going. My reach was just at round 11 when this guy just literally threw up his hands and picked up Dwight Howard. He literally said, fuck it, I'll pick up Dwight Howard.
Yeah, that was a panic pick for sure.
So at round 11, it's not that much of a reach, but it didn't really fit his team that much because it didn't look like he was punting free throws at that point. It didn't look like he was punting turnovers. So just having Dwight on your team, I think it's just a cancer. I mean, I never liked that guy
Both
since
in fantasy and real life.
he was the Rocket. I'll let my bias slip over into fantasy, but he's fourth team in 4 years. I mean, I'm done with that guy. I'll never have him on my team.
Yeah, it's funny because he's
Well, what about?
Sorry, I would say he's good enough that you look at him, but he's bad enough that you constantly think about dropping him. Like, terrible. Yeah, I could agree with that too.
So what would be your favorite overall pick for Vin's team? Start with Ronnie, I guess.
Oh man, it's got to be AD. Mike hit the nail on the head. When you get a chance to get AD, especially healthy AD, knock on wood, you got to go get him, and that was the best pick for sure.
All right, what about you, Mike?
Yeah, AD is definitely a good pick at number one. I actually went with Devin Booker at the 3rd round spot just to get a good shooting guard to round up your lineup. There's not too many good shooting guards in the league, especially a shooting guard that can score 25, 26 points. And, this guy is improving every year, and I think he'll improve his ball handling duties this year. Phoenix doesn't really have a real ball handler, so I think that's a good, solid upside pick at a position that's kind of rare.
All right, cool. Let's move on to the second team. Ron, you drafted from the 2nd position this year. You weren't able to get AD, but I feel like you got the 2nd best guy overall. Who you think was your biggest steal in the draft?
So that was choosing between Harden and just Giannis was a nightmare for me. I went back and forth. People would text me. Depending on what time they texted me, I would say something different. But I ultimately went with Harden. And from that, my biggest steal, I think, would be actually DeMar DeRozan with the 39th pick. I think a big thing about free throw percentage, people don't take into account a lot of time, is just the sheer volume that needed to accumulate a percentage that actually matters, right? So if a center shoots 2 free throws per game and shoots 50%, that's not that big a deal, honestly, right? But with DeRozan, he shoots I think 8 free throws per game, or average around 8, and at a very high 80s clip. And DeRozan was my favorite pickup.
Okay, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And then Mike, what do you think was the biggest reach?
You mentioned earlier, but I gotta just rub it in a little bit more. This guy named Reggie Jackson, in the 9th round.
Oh man, you gotta hit me where it hurts.
Picked over D'Angelo Russell, Lonzo Ball, Tim Hardaway Jr., Joe Ingles. I don't know. I've never been a Reggie Jackson guy just because Low field goal percentage, didn't really even shoot that many threes. In Detroit, he's always splitting time with Ish Smith, so I've never been a huge Reggie Jackson fan. But it might work out for Ronnie.
2 words. Panic pick. Just panic pick. It was what you said about Lou. At a certain point, I was like, man, Reggie Jackson's just dropping and dropping. Like, I gotta get him up before someone else takes him. Turns out, no one was able to take him. It was brutal. That was a rough pick.
So Ronnie, what was your favorite pick on your team? What do you think was the best one, the best pick?
I gotta go back to Luka, man. Taking DeRozan at 4 and feeling like I had a steal, I went to choose Luka. And it all goes back to what I was saying earlier about ball usage and just favorite players to watch. They kind of go hand in hand. And Luka took the belt there for me. Like, having a player both that you love in real life and in fantasy is the ultimate goal, right? And Luka has that ability to be that favorite player. So it's far and away, no doubt, Luka.
Yeah, Mike, do you agree with that? I know when Luka got drafted, a lot of people were really heartbroken because everybody wanted that, EuroLeague MVP on their team.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad enough that the Mavericks fan got James Harden, but you got the white James Harden and Luka Doncic. So, yeah, that's pretty upsetting.
Okay, we'll move on to the third. From the number 3 position, we had Unu. He drafted third with I thought was the funniest team name, which was Kawhi, quote, I'm a fungi, Leonard. That had me cracking up as soon as he threw that on there. What was his biggest steal, Mike?
Yeah, I'm a fungi with the picture of a mushroom. That was pretty legit. Biggest steal for me has to be 3rd round, Chris Paul. Especially pairing him with John Wall and Giannis. That's locking up assists and steals right there in the 3rd round. Pretty great pick. I don't know how Chris Paul slipped to the 3rd round, to be honest. I mean, this guy plays in an up-tempo system in Houston. Still averaged 7 assists last year. With James Harden in his first year, he'll probably up that, getting more familiarity with the team. I mean, he'll basically be logged for 2+ threes, 7 assists, almost 2 steals a game. And this guy's year in, year out. He's a borderline first-round player. To get him at round 3 is pretty ridiculous. So I think that's definitely the steal of the draft for me. The steal for his team, the steal of the draft for me, probably.
Wow. Ronnie, what do you think about the reach? Did Unu reach anywhere?
So overall, like, Unu's team is a monster. Where he might have reached a little bit too high, and this hurts me to say because he's my boy, but Gordon Hayward in the 6th round with so many other players available, the DSJs, the Teagues, the Bartons and Cantors, right? That kind of killed me a little bit. If you've watched Hayward in the preseason, there's something still off about his game. He just doesn't look like he has his rhythm back, and it'll just be really tough, I think, in this regular season with so many mouths to feed in Boston for him to gain it back in any kind of way that he can justify that 6th round pickup. Just a tough pick there.
And of course, we're all hoping that Hayward springs back to his pre-injury form. It was a gruesome injury that knocked him out all last season. What about your favorite pick that he took?
Man, I think it's
that's pretty harsh, Ronnie. I mean,
yeah. Oh, you think?
Yeah. No. I was saying it's pretty harsh that you had Hayward last year. You're not rooting for him to come back this year. Strong.
Hey, man, new year, new player. I gotta find a new guy this year.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I think Johnny said favorite pick. I actually was rooting for Draymond Green. I think sometimes we tend to maybe overrate like injuries that may miss the first couple of games and devalue them accordingly. Over devalue them too much. And I think that's what happened to Draymond. Draymond dropping to the 38th pick was too much for me. Like, the guy produces everywhere at a position that doesn't that is rare, right? It doesn't hurt you. Draymond is my favorite pick of Unu's team. I think really completes his team.
Yeah. What about you, Mike? What do you think?
For best pick, favorite pick,
Yep.
I'm gonna have to go with probably another Rocket, Clint Capella in the 5th round, just because I think he got good value at that point. All of the bigs that were nightly double threats that can block upwards to 2 shots a game were already taken. So I think in the 5th round he shored up his center position by getting Clint Capella. That was a good pick. So he had pretty solid first 5 picks. I'd say best first 5 picks out of anyone, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. He had a really strong draft. It's one of the teams we're really going to have to look out for this year and kind of game plan against. In the 4 position, we had our favorite, everybody's favorite drafter. You never know what he's going to do. He's a wild card. He's kind of shoots from the hip. Tim Wang drafted Cruise Control from the number 4 position, and he went first with Karl Anthony Towns. What do you think his biggest steal was in this draft, Mike?
Biggest steal, I have down D'Angelo Russell at round 9, and I'm not a huge D'Angelo Russell guy, but I mean, he might score 20 points a game. I've never been high on him, but at the 9th round, getting a 20 PPG score, first option on a team in a fast-paced team, I think that's a no-brainer right there. Much prefer him over someone like Reggie Jackson, for instance. But
God damn it!
Yeah,
every
go with
single time. Yeah, no. Russell's a steal in the 9th round. He's got mid-round potential, so that was great.
And this one's probably a layup for you, Ronnie. But Tim's biggest reach.
Oh man, where
do you
to
say
start?
that is?
Like, there's so many. You could go Ayton with the 2nd round pick. You could go, I don't know, Gallinari with the 8th round pick. But I'm gonna go with Trae freaking Young in the 6th round with Dragic, DSJ, Teague, Chris Dunn. Honestly, you could even throw in Reggie Jackson. No, you can't throw in Reggie Jackson. Sorry, too far. Trae Young, in the 6th round was just absurd. There were moments when I show the draft board that I from our league to other people, and they're like, "Oh, solid draft," or solid team. Like, you guys meet up every year, but these Trae Young pickups, or these just like Tim moves, just throw all this credibility of the league down, and this Trae Young just accentuated that.
Ouch!
It just kills me. Like Trae.
So
a little harsh, but I mean, I feel like
now, right?
Yeah.
Trae Young's gonna be like top 5 PG this year now.
Oh man,
you reverse text him.
Where's Reggie in that ranking?
He's not even.
Let's move on to number 5. So my got a nice middle pick, pretty safe. Get to pick. One thing I've always said about 5th and 6th picks is it's very consistent, allows for a very consistent draft. And Mai took that 5th pick, and he drafted a pretty decent team. Who do you think he got as the greatest steal in this draft, Ronnie?
Man, I gotta go back to my boy Lonzo. Lonzo in the 10th freaking round. He produces Draymond Green level stats. Granted, with pretty bad percentages and the ugliest jump shot around. But Lonzo Ball in the 10th, just amazing value. And we're not even talking about his new improved shooting form, right? Like, that may not result in better percentages per se, but it will definitely improve his like overall threes, the spacing for assists. I mean, he's got it all. Uh, Absolute steal of a deal. 10th round, Lonzo Ball.
Yeah, and then what do you think about the his biggest reach, Mike?
Let's see, my biggest reach. I would have to go with. Actually, I had a harder time with this because I think he had a pretty solid draft, like every position. I think he got pretty good value. But for me, Robert Covington at 6th round. I just like someone more consistent in that spot. I get the appeal with Covington. He's high threes, he used some boards, good steals, but his field goal percentage is trash. And he is a very hot and cold player. I remember in 2017 when multiple people had him in the league, like even his own team, like his own fans, 76ers booed him because he was missing so many threes. I remember one game specifically, he was getting booed in the game for missing threes. I think he was like 1 for 9 from 3 at home, and they were booing him, and then he actually ended up hitting the game-winning alley-oop, and they cheered for him. So that's the Robert Covington experience right there in a nutshell. And after experiencing that, I just don't want to have anything to do with that again. He's the most hot and cold player, in the league that you can draft, in my experience.
Oh yeah, Robert Streaky Covington. He can shoot you in games and out of games instantly, in and out of seasons. Honestly, too good to drop because he's got that like 3 cola thing going on. But yeah, no, that was a great read. Yeah, Robert Covington being the reach, if you will. I would also say that the small ball part plays, right? Like, as great as Robert Covington is, you could kind of get similar stats a little bit later. So, that I agree that it is a pretty decent reach.
Yeah, I mean, not a bad pick if you look at it, but just out of all his picks, that's one that stood out to me.
Okay. I mean, what did he? What do you think was his best value pick? And we'll start with Mike.
My favorite pick, not necessarily value. I don't know, value too. Joe Ingles in the 9th round. I just love Joe Ingles. Ever since he punked Paul George last year in the playoffs, basically hitting threes in his face and trash talking him in the face, he just became one of my favorite players. I think he shot like 47% on open spot up threes last year, which is comparable to Steph Curry. So at the 9th spot, you'll get pretty decent, reliable steals, threes, and assists. And I would just really like Joe Ingles.
Yeah. Has there ever been a more effective, unimposing player? Dude looks like a math teacher. But yeah, no, Ingles is the man.
Yeah, Ronnie, what about you? Who was your favorite pick?
For me, it's got to be Cantor. Penis Cantor. Oh my gosh, that guy is a stud. With his usage rate, going back to that, is gonna go off the charts with KP, the unicorn gun. Like last year, even alone, he was averaging easy doubles, right? This year, I feel like he's gonna expand his range, shoots a couple threes with no drop in percentage because all those rebounds. Like, he's the man. My team is a serious contender.
Yeah, that was a solid pickup. He's a double-double machine there, Cantor.
No doubt. Well, guys, I'm actually to hop off. This recap ended up going on a little longer than I could, but if you guys want to finish off the last 5 teams without me, I guess I'll have to tune in and find out how you guys rated my team. But I'm going to go ahead and drop off.
Oh, how convenient. You're going to drop off right when we get to your team?
I can't take I'm just kind of fragile emotionally right now, and but I think you guys are going to kill it anyway. I can't wait to hear the results.
All right, man, you're going to come back to like a 3-hour pod.
Yeah, I'll rejoin after I'm done. All right, man, good luck.
All right, see you, Johnny. Thanks for moderating. So, Mike, now that Johnny's in here, we can go full on.
It was pick by pick.
But you know what's
Trash, trash, trash.
for real? The crappy part about it is that there's not a whole lot to nitpick, man. Like I had a lot of
Yeah.
I was kind of trashing my a little bit, but honestly only because I was nitpicking. And Johnny's team is the exact same way. Starting off with
Same
LeBron,
here. What do you think would be the biggest reach for him?
and
I
see,
have someone, but it's not even a reach
yeah,
really.
no. Yeah, I agree. Like, and with my it's the same thing. But Johnny's biggest reach, and it's not even that big a reach, like you said, is Clay in the fifth. I feel like although he's a 20-point scorer, his stats are generally fairly replaceable later on. The same thing with the Covington argument, but Clay in the fifth is still really good. What about you? What do you think his biggest steal
Dude,
was? Oh, sorry.
that's hilarious because for steal, I put Clay at the fifth round just because he was like a perennial top 30 player, and to get 20 points per game locked at round five for a shooting guard is pretty good in my opinion. So I found it was hard to get good shooting guards, at least for my draft. Like I don't outside of like the big names like Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Devin Booker, it's hard to get good shooting guards for me. So getting Clay at that spot, you know exactly what he's going to give to you. 3 threes and 20 points per game. That was actually my biggest deal. Like all his players are kind of in the range where they should be, in my opinion. So I just picked Clay. But my biggest reach actually for me was Ben Simmons
Wow.
because I had him last year. Go ahead.
No. I'm just stunned that that's who you said. I would never in a million years think that that's who you'd say on his team was a reach. Well, why is the case? What's the rationale?
Ben Simmons, he's good, right? But he has deficiencies in his games. Like he will not shoot any threes, right? His field goal is pretty good, but his free throws right now are still pretty bad. He might improve them, but his free throws are pretty bad. And his turnovers are pretty bad too. And for the second round, his scoring is not that great. Like would you rather have Ben Simmons at that spot in the second round or Draymond Green in the fourth round? Like they're kind of similar, right?
Yeah, no, that's a very fair point. It's a fair getting players at value, it matters, right? And so getting in the second round, you need that superstar to build everything around and those popcorn stats. And yeah, Ben Simmons doesn't provide the points that maybe you would hope or want. I mean, it could change this year, but they've got a lot of talent, a lot of mouths to feed over there.
Right. It's only their second year. They lost big pieces on their team. They lost Bellinelli. They lost Ursan. So I think there was a lot of question marks with that team this year. The only saving grace for him is he paired him with LeBron, which is pretty perfect pairing. Just because that's, triple-double stats right there for both of those guys. And, plus good steals and blocks to pair with LeBron. So that's a good pairing. But it's just for me this year, I was kind of surprised everyone was going to target Ben Simmons in the second round. It's like when people were targeting Blake Griffin in the second round after his rookie year. Like I had him his rookie year, he was good, but he had deficiencies in his game. He was terrible free throw shooter. Didn't get defensive stats. I can see the same thing with Ben Simmons. He has a lot of deficiencies. He's good. He's fun to watch, but he's going to be like the next great player, one of the next great players in the game. But just fantasy-wise, I think
he's not second-round material yet.
I mean, with the right team build, he might be. That just stood out to me. What about your the favorite pick for him?
Man, favorite pick? There's a lot to pick from, but I'm actually going with Drew Holiday. His coming out party came last year, and it came out big. He shut down Lillard and put up 25 plus per game in the playoffs. I think this is going to be the year that people truly appreciate Drew. After he signed that big contract, I didn't think there was any way he was going to live up to it. At one point, the highest paid player in NBA history, right? Was that right? Drew's the man this year, especially now that his usage rate is going to remain high with Cousins now gone. What about you? Favorite pick?
Yeah, Drew was pretty solid. Good steals, assists, scoring. For me, in the 8th round, Mirotic on the same team. I think he's going to settle in this year as a starting power forward, and he just provides all the hustle stats and a lot of categories plus threes. So I think just the fact that he can do it all, getting that pick in the 8th round, and that system, I think that's going to work out for Johnny.
Oh yeah, great call out. One, Mirotic has never really been in a position where he is the indisputed power forward, right? And then two, like he's actually in a contract year, right? He signed a 2-year contract, traded. It's going to be huge for him. That was a great call. Yeah, Mirotic in the
I didn't even realize that.
8th is huge.
Yeah, let's move on to
your team.
It's my team. Okay,
I
didn't even analyze my team. I don't
know. Man, yeah, just like it's interesting seeing there's certain league players in the league that are always consistently good, and your team, as much as it pains me, is one of those teams. You had a couple reaches, I think, but you also had a couple steals. The biggest steal, not to be too much of a homer, has got to be DSJ. He just looks like a changed man. In the preseason, he could legitimately improve his efficiency, especially as great for a guard, near the 48% range as he's off the ball now, and increases threes in 1 year. DSJ is the man. That was a great pickup, especially in, what was it, the 7th round?
The 7th round, yeah, I was pretty happy with that pick. Yeah, I mean, he was picked high. I was surprised he slipped to 7th. I mean, he was picked in like the 5th round last year. And I didn't really believe in him last year, but watching him in preseason and working off of Luka, I think he's going to – I mean, Harrison Barnes is injured right now. I think he's going to be the leading scorer for a while.
Yeah, he could be. He could be easily. And he's always been a little more ball dominant too, so it kind of naturally lends itself towards scoring more. So, yeah, right, DSJ is a great fantasy pickup, even if he isn't a real.
Yeah,
winner.
I mean he has high upside. I mean, it could go south, right? His efficiency, could stagnate, but I like to have that exciting player on my team. My favorite pick was actually in the 4th round, Andre Drummond. And some people, Andre Drummond can go anywhere from like the 2nd round to like the 6th round, depending on the team build. But
yeah, man, you got to explain that.
I never had him. All right, so my explanation is Andre Drummond, he's improved his free throws, and he actually doesn't shoot that many free throws. If he averaged 5 attempts, my rationale was I can balance that out with some high frequency, free throw shooters that shot well, like Jokic, Paul George, Middleton. So I felt like I could eat some poor free throw shooting, and plus Drummond has really improved his free throw shooting.
He
and at that point, I wanted to shore up my boards, and then having Drummond, he's the best rebounder arguably in the league. And I think his minutes are pretty shored up right now this year. So that's why I picked up Drummond. I just like him. I never had him before, but I feel pretty confident that he'll have a good year.
And he shoots threes now. What else can you ask for?
He's 0 for 8 in the preseason. 0 for 8 from 3.
I'm sorry, he shoots threes. I didn't say he made them.
Yeah, he shoots them. He'll shoot them. Dwayne Casey, just like the Toronto days, he'll just let the star players do whatever they want. Like DeMar DeRozan, you can take 500 mid-ranges. Yeah. Fadeaway mid-ranges. Who cares?
No, Drummond was great.
biggest reach, I don't know. Fifth round, I kind of panicked and picked Gary Harris. I like Gary Harris, actually, but probably could have picked up another big in that spot. Some other players as well in that spot. Just because Gary Harris, I mean, he'll give you good scoring, he'll give you good steals, but his other supporting stats aren't there yet.
Yeah,
like
Denver,
blocks,
another
as far
team.
as blocks, rebounds, and assists go. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Denver, another team with a lot of mouths to feed, for sure.
Right.
But I think you brought a good point, right? Like Gary Harris, he's a really good player, but 5 is maybe his ceiling, right? And you generally when you draft players, you want them to overperform. There's a chance, or I would say, lower probability that he's gonna overcome that 5th round draft pick or outperform.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. I actually
I
would
hear
go
you.
another direction though. Like and maybe I don't watch a lot of Magic preseason games, but Jonathan Isaac was a pick that I was pretty dubious about. You had a lot of talents on the board in the 9th round, and I felt like Isaac may have been a player you could have got later. What do you think about that? Can you explain your rationale there?
Yeah, all I can say is just keep talking trash about Jonathan Isaac, and you'll see.
And for those who don't know, Michael Liu is known for drafting the Rookie of the Year. So you could very much, you've heard it here, you're going to hear it here first. Michael Liu, Jonathan Isaac, Rookie of the Year.
I mean, I'm good, but I'm not that good since he's a sophomore. But
Oh, I'm
he's
so
kind
sorry.
of in the
That's
mold
right.
of like a AK-47. Like he gets a lot of hustle stats, but the thing is, he's like Mr. Glass. Like last year, I think he only played like 27 games last year. 'Cause he was
Sorry,
hurt.
I totally forgot. Like it seems like just 2 new draft picks for them, Isaac and and Bamba. I
Yeah,
totally
when I picked Isaac, like I think 80% of the room are like, "Who the heck is that?"
forgot.
Only Unu knew who he was because he picked him up last year.
You mean, yeah, for the
But I don't know.
short period of time that he played?
Yes, for like a few games. They got hurt again. That spot, 9th round, I kind of went with a flyer pick. I needed hustle stats, really. That's why I got him.
Yeah, and he could produce.
It might not work out. Last year, my 9th round pick was, I can't remember who I dropped him, so.
I think that was your shooting guard run last year. You drafted like 4 to 5 shooting guards in a row, right?
Yeah, none of them worked out.
I mean, it kind of worked out, like in the end, right?
It worked out in the sense that they were so bad that I dropped them all and picked up better players. But it unintentionally worked out, sure. Let's move on to Joe's team. Joe, I hate drafting next to this guy because he always snipes me or I snipe him, and there's nothing worse when you're drafting and someone picks the player that you're looking at right before you draft, and then you're staring at that timer going down and you don't know who to pick. So I think the biggest steal for Joe would probably be Nurkic in the 8th round, just because he was the best available big at that point. Like all the solid bigs fall off pretty fast, and that was the best available starting big man. Good rebounds, blocks, and points. Just signed an extension, so you know that his role is pretty safe. So I think, yeah, in the 8th round there, Nurkic was a pretty good value to me. What about you?
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Nurkic was great value at the spot. He doubled down on his percentages and backed it up with the Jonas pick beforehand. And yeah, for me though, like this may be too early to call a steal or anything, but Gobert with the 38th pick, pretty awesome value, especially for a player that can win you one category all in itself. all by himself. It's yeah, Gobert was for me just like he could honestly be first round value. The fact that you win 20% of what you need to win every week outright, you can't even compete it. And then backing it up with Nurkic and Jonas to a certain extent, getting those blocks in there, great value.
Yeah, no, good call, man. That was another one of those. 'Cause I picked right before him. I picked Chris Middleton, and then he picked Gobert, and I immediately regretted my pick.
Those were the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
What
like,
was
why
it?
did I pick Gobert? What was I thinking?
Oh yeah, I mean Middleton's so great, but yeah, Gobert's a stud. Especially if he's fully healthy. He hasn't been fully healthy for well, I guess just last year, but he's generally a pretty healthy guy. So watch out this year.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him. I think some people are picking Jazz to be like the third seed, like pretty high up there in the West. So yeah, I think the Jazz are going to have a pretty good season. As far as biggest reach, I have down JJ Redick in the ninth round, just because his role is kind of up in the air. Well, not up in the air, but he's going to come off the bench, so his value is going to be pretty capped. But you know where you're going to get from him, just threes. You're going to get threes from him pretty efficiently. But I feel like he could have waited a few rounds to get him, or could have got someone of a similar ilk, like kind of like Jeremy Lamb or someone like that later.
Yeah, maybe with
But
someone a
that'd be
little
the only
higher upside.
nitpick.
Yeah,
Right.
I definitely agree with that. Whenever you reach a little bit too high, or whenever you draft a specialist, you want to make sure you get him at the right value. And I think in the ninth round was a little bit too high when you had potential 20-point scorers like a Evan Fournier or Lonzo Ball, right? So I agree that Redick, as great of a shooter he is, as he's one of my favorite players, also has a really solid podcast, was a reach in the ninth round with all the other players on board.
Yep, I listen to this podcast too. I love the man, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't have picked him in
not in
the
the ninth
spot.
round. Not in the ninth. What's your favorite overall pick for Joe?
My favorite overall pick, just completely biased, was Cedi Osman. Just because
Steady.
the Jedi, man. Just because I love that guy. He just plays with so much energy. I don't know what the hell he's gonna do next year.
Yeah,
He
what are
could
his
be boom and
projected
bust,
stats?
but
Like, I know that
I don't
everyone
know.
loves him.
He might be like 15, 6.5, and 3, but he'll be fun to watch with upside. That Cavs team is pretty decrepit. It doesn't really have anything going for it except
Might
for
be the only
Kevin
fun
Love.
person, fun thing to watch. Yep.
Yeah. And plus, I drafted De'Aaron Fox right before him, and I was debating getting him, but I thought he might fall around more. So when Joe picked him, I was pretty upset. So that's my favorite pick for him. What about you? But that's just completely off of my bias.
My favorite pick, and I didn't think I was gonna choose it when I first looked at this team, but it's actually Josh Richardson. I think even if he gets traded to Minnesota, he'll retain his value. He's got that like weird combo where he's elite in threes, blocks, and steals, and without even with having a low usage rate. So I think Josh Richardson just has so much to his game, and with the volume that he can potentially play this year, uh, I think he has the ability to really push and outperform that fifth round value.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had him last year. He was pretty solid. And Joe famously dropped him last year, and I picked him up, and that's right when I picked him up, he started going off.
The key to your
So
season, man.
Joe
Josh
probably remembers
Richardson.
that.
God, kills me, kills me.
Yep.
It's just, it's the
I
players
just
like
I just
that.
want to have my same team from last year. Yeah, he's definitely a glue guy. Let's move on to Nin's team.
Man, Nin team,
So
another
biggest
perennial
steal,
contender.
oh definitely. Biggest steal I have in the seventh round, Jeff Teague. Just the fact that he's going to play high minutes because Tibbs is a crazy man, and he's going to give you 7 assists, good steals, good scoring, good threes.
Doesn't scare you?
Pretty solid for. I mean, is he going to stay healthy? Like, is he going to start? What's his role going to be? I don't know.
MVP, man. I don't know.
Well, I guess he's not going to start because Jimmy Butler's back. But.
Hmm.
No, it wasn't scare me. Jamal Crawford left, so he's going to fill in that role.
Yeah,
I think Teague is pretty safe.
He's perennially underrated. He's also one of the low-key steals leaders always. So he's a great pickup at that spot. For me, actually, my favorite steal for him was Rubio, right above him. I think Rubio's been branded as like a non-shooter and hurts you in both like percentages, both free throw and field goal percentage, but he's really changed his game last year. Playing under the Jazz coach whose name escapes me at this moment, but he's really added threes to his game. He's a much more confident shooter in addition to being that steals guy and that great overall vision passer. Rubio for me is his best pickup.
Yeah, I like Rubio. He's always underrated. They needed him in the against the Rockets last year too in the playoffs.
Yeah, they needed someone to feed my man Donovan. Yeah, I do think though that while like Rubio and Teague were great pickups, especially at the 6th and 7th round, he did reach. He has a little bit of recency bias with LaMarcus in the 4th. What do you think?
This again, exact opposite of the. I have LaMarcus as his best pick, as my favorite pick.
Wait, you don't think that?
I mean, you had him last year. He was good last year, right?
Yeah, I know, but he was also good with being the only star on the team, with them feeding it in the post, with them slowing the pace down. Now you got a younger team. Granted, mostly injured. I don't even know who's their starting point guard anymore. But
that's the thing. DeRozan is going to play point guard, and then I don't think DeRozan is going to go in there and start gunning. I think he's going to look for Aldridge. I think right now it's Aldridge's team, just by default, and at least for this year. So I think they're still going to look for him. He's going to be the most efficient scorer on that team.
Yeah, he could be. I think, I don't know. I'm expecting a regression year, but I'd love to be proven wrong. I've since changed my tune about all.
No, the only regression year was the year before last year when I had him. And he was terrible. And he was trying to get traded. That was his regression year. He regressed back to being what he is. Yeah, I hate him that year. But now Kawhi's gone, so I think I like that spot. For me, the biggest reach, I got to go with Ariza in the 9th, just because I don't know. The wing situation in Phoenix just scares me. Josh Jackson,
strange.
T.J. Warren, Mikal Bridges, where they traded a pick to get him.
Right, you don't trade
it up to get him, basically,
and then not play him.
Just to sit him, just to get Trevor Ariza.
Well, unless you're the Suns, there's a chance that Ariza will just take over. Josh Jackson and Mikal Bridges won't even play. But it's still a pretty big risk, especially in the 9th round. When, once again, you have your Evan Fourniers, your Marvin Bagleys, your Lonzo Balls in that round. Yeah, it's a risk.
Yeah, I agree. That leaves us one more team.
Yeah.
Former champion, Swan Lei. The most enigmatic drafter.
Probably favorite Johto leaguer. I think it's probably consensus that Swan is our favorite. How he drafts.
Johto League favorite.
Like everything that guy says is gold. His picks. Otherwise,
I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do favorite pick and and biggest reach in the same But I'm gonna go ahead and
The
say,
favorite pick is the biggest reach.
like, I don't even know. What do you think his best pick was? Let's start right there because if we go the other way, there's too many to choose from.
I think I like Kawhi. And it might be a reach, but just at that spot, was 11 overall. It has the highest upside to jump in the first round, to have Kawhi at that slot, and to pair him up with Westbrook. But Kawhi, he's trying to get a contract, so I don't think he's going to phone it in this year. I think the Spurs training staff probably babied him a little bit, so I think he's going to play through ailments this year. He's going to try to prove to everyone that he's worth that max contract. He has a lot to play for this year, and he's going to be the number one option. It's going to be his team. So I think Kawhi is going to be. There is risk, obviously, because he hasn't played in a year, but that is my favorite pick for him. What about you?
Oh yeah, agreed. It's Kawhi, hands down. To get a potential top 5 player at the 11th pick, it's insane. We didn't even factor in that the Spurs actually generally play pretty slow and pretty ball dominant. With Nick Nurse in Toronto, they're going to play a much more up-tempo, much more faster pace, much more ball movement. Like, he's going to get a lot of chances, a lot more possessions to do his thing. Kawhi, the 11th pick overall, is just the best pick of his entire draft, I think. Could be better than Westbrook, considering Westbrook may not be coming back for a little bit.
True, yeah. Westbrook is risky pick for that high, especially since he's injured right now. Going the other direction, what do you think is the biggest reach?
Oh man, where to
Just
start?
if you had to pick one, just one.
Oh god, I would pick one. All right. So purely by this is just the Ronnie rule, different Ronnie rule than what's written in the Constitution, which we won't go back in the set. My rule is I don't pick up injured players. That's just like if they're injured from the outset, I will not pick them up.
Okay.
To pick up Lauri Markkanen in the 6th round when he's out at least a third of the season was just a travesty for me. It crushed me. And I'm rooting for Twan. I want to visit. I want to go to Disney World with Twan, who's in Florida for those who don't know. But Markkanen was just way too high. Way too high. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's a contender. Markkanen at 6th round, just because he's injured. I mean, we do have an RS spot, but I think he would have dropped a little bit further. He could have probably gotten a player that would have helped them a lot in that spot instead of taking Markkanen. I thought Jaylen Brown's pretty high at 7, but my reach is going to be Michael Beasley at 10, just because I don't even think he's going to be rosterable, to be honest, on that Lakers team.
That's a great point. Yes.
I mean, because Kyle Kuzma, Lance Stevenson, Rondo, whoever is on the bench now, I don't know how many touches he's going to get, to be honest. And without scoring, his scoring is his best strength. Probably scoring and getting some boards. If he's not going to get the usage, I just don't see the production from him in the 10th round. Now, he did try to walk it back. And what do you think about that? So he picked Beasley, and then the draft went on, and he tried to walk the pick back, but we said no. But I only said no because we had already moved on to like 2 more picks after that. I thought it would have been too much of a effort to reset that pick.
Yeah, potential point of controversy. I think we all probably would have done it if we weren't focused on drafting our own team at that time, right? Like, the 10th round where you get some steals, but because, I mean, Michael Beasley, like, this is super competitive, the most competitive league I've ever heard of for fantasy basketball, and I would have let him do a redo because that pick was so bad. like that.
I feel bad even because in the same round, that's when we gave Tim extra 20 seconds because he just dozed off or was in another world or something.
Yeah, what was
missed his pick. I don't know. He blamed Unu because he didn't tell him, because Unu didn't tell him he was up next.
Right. Definitely Unu's fault there.
So yeah, I feel extra bad for Tuan in this round because we gave some leeway to Tim, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Unfortunately, yeah. Draft's over, so got to move on. He's probably the first player that's going to get dropped, though. Tomorrow when waivers
Yeah,
open.
maybe. Yeah.
I mean, just overall, like, went through all 10 teams. Which two teams do you see making the finals, man?
For me, a lock probably, barring injuries and stupid trades, is going to be Unu's team. I mean, he picked up Giannis, John Wall, Chris Paul, Draymond Green, the first 4 picks. That's pretty strong.
I think barring injuries
Yeah,
is a big thing to say, right? I mean, you got John Wall and Chris Paul who
True.
both missed significant time last year.
True. I mean, John Wall I think it was just for cleanup last year for his knee, right? Chris Paul is a legitimate injury risk. But, I mean, all you need to do is have him healthy in the playoffs, right?
That's
and the
right.
last
That's
3
fair.
weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
So
as
if
long
he
as
can
you
make
get
it that
there.
far, I think he's in strong contention to getting to the finals. And plus, Giannis, I think he's probably like one of the favorites for MVP this year, him and Anthony Davis, and new offense, new coach. I think he's going to have a career year for sure. And
Yes.
then the other team, there's a lot of strong teams. Like I like Mai's team, but I'm going to have to go with Joe's team just because he always drafts so solid. Like his percentage is always pretty good, and he gets great value on his picks. I know because everyone he wanted to draft, I wanted to draft as well. So I'm gonna have to say Joe and Unu for the finals. What do you
Yeah,
say?
man, those guys are up there in my contention. I actually got two different people.
All right.
My nemesis, Mai, had a tremendous draft. I know I was shitting on his Covington pick, but only because there wasn't a whole lot to shit on. Just a tremendous team. Getting Durant.
I thought Quan was your nemesis.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I've got multiple nemesis. I've got multiple nemesis. Whenever you start with KD, like trying to build around him, in a way, is more difficult because he doesn't really have any weaknesses, right? And so you have to almost choose which strengths you want to highlight. And I think that he highlighted them really well with like the blocks that or I'm sorry, actually not blocks. His percentages, free throws is really going to be really great with Butler and Lowry. Rebounds are going to be solid. Assists are going to be great. Like Mai has a super strong team. I can't see any downside of any of his picks until like the latter rounds, and even the latter rounds, getting Willie Cauley-Stein starting center in the 13th round, pretty great. Mai's team is an incredibly strong contender. Probably my number one team. Other than that, though, like I'd actually go with Johnny. I think we were both struggling a little bit with choosing like picks and like reaches or favorite picks because he just had so many good ones. I think Johnny like complemented his team extremely well. Gasol in the 4th round to back up James and Simmons, and then I think his best pick actually was DeAndre in the 7th round. If you're gonna choose a player to tank free throw percentage, you magnify your other stats. DeAndre in the 7th round is just an amazing pickup. We'll see how many blocks he gets. His blocks have declined a little bit over the past couple of years, but his team overall just looks like an absolute monster. So Mai and Johnny for me, Unu and Joe for you. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of strong teams, to be honest. That's a good call on mine, Johnny. I did have trouble picking the biggest reach for both of those, so they both had pretty solid drafts.
Based purely on
I just
that.
like, I like Joe, similar reason to you with mine. He just has a solid base, solid percentages. He has high upside players. And honestly, Unu's team is like Johnny's team. He had Hassan Whiteside in the 7th round. I think he's pretty comparable to DeAndre Jordan. His role is a little bit up in the air, but could average more blocks. Could be better offensively.
Yeah,
so
no,
those are pretty
Unu's team is
comparable
great.
teams.
hmm What about worst teams? Teams that will end up in the toilet bowl.
So I unfortunately have the former champ, Twan. I mean, I like the players on his team. If you just like told me Jason Tatum, oh, I like that guy. Brandon Ingram, I actually like him. But his team construct is just all wings and scores. Like he only has really one center in Nerlens. Serge Ibaka, it might be a center, power forward center, might not be. And then he only has but one point guard in Russell Westbrook. So he has one center and one point guard and all wings. So I don't know if he can get the stats, to win at that point,
Yeah, he's got, I would say, a lot of role players for sure.
Yeah, he has players that can score. Kind of like Tim's team. Tim has a lot of players that can score, but he also has players that can dominate boards and have good assists, good 3-pointers. So I'd say definitely Twan's team is down there in the bottom. The other team I have is actually my team. So I didn't like a draft
man. Why your team? I never thought you would pick your own team.
No, I just didn't like my team. At a certain point, I didn't really know what direction I was going. Kept, going, I'm going to go, punt free throws or punt field goals. Kept going back and forth. I ended up just picking the best available player that I thought was at each round, and just putting it all together. Don't really know how it's gonna work out. So tentatively, before the season starts, I'm gonna put my team down there in the bottom, just because I don't know how it's gonna all gel together, all come together at the very end. Like I have a lot of pieces, but just like Twan's team, I don't know how it's gonna fit together.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, when you get a player like a Jokic, right, who gets you out of position stats, and it's actually one of his greatest strengths, right, the assists, it also kind of throws you off because it's like, so am I good with assists? Do I get some more point guards? Do I not? So I could see where you maybe struggled there a little bit, because your first point guard wasn't until DSJ in the 7th round.
Right.
Yeah,
Jokic, Paul George can give you a little bit of assists. Middleton can give you some assists, but I was basically picking best available, and then picked Gary Harris because I needed a shooting guard. And then the point guards fall to me later. So we'll see. I mean, there's some potential there, but definitely could have drafted better. Again, it always sucks when you look at the guy drafting next to you, you're like, oh, should have picked that guy.
All the regret. That's part of the Johto League draft. Yeah.
Yep, every year.
My two teams are one is similar. It sucks because they're both my boys, but Twan, for all the reasons you aforementioned, right? Like I don't know how it picks together. I don't know the there's a lot of recency bias, I think, with Tatum and then Ingram in the 3rd and 4th rounds. I thought they were picked, honestly, 3 to 4 rounds too high. We've got Wiggins, who I don't know what they expect from him. Jimmy Butler may beat him up one game. He may get traded, and the Wiggins
He was terrible in the preseason.
He looked terrible, yeah. Jaylen Brown, another player, recency bias that you mentioned earlier, that was a reach. Yeah, I love the guy, but I can't root for him. I can't put him in the playoffs. And unfortunately, same thing for my boy Tim. Like I liked his first 5 picks. You got it. He's clearly building on rebounds and field goal percentage. Get a little assist in there, but after that, I think it kind of all went haywire. Picking up Trae Young, and then I don't like. Karis LeVert's okay, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like it fits all well to me together. It doesn't look like there's enough threes to supplement getting another category, and not enough steals or blocks to really make way for or to highlight your number one player's strengths. Yeah, Tim and Twan, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've been back and forth on Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Like I seriously think he has a good team in 1 second, and then take another look, take a double take, and don't like his team. But I mean, he has potential on that team. Ayton is going to be the hot topic. He's going to be the biggest boom and bust player. Everyone's going to watch the box score to see how Ayton does, and then if he does poorly, Tim is never going to hear the end of it that he drafted him in the second round. But, you know, Allen's, in his rookie year, he was a number 12 overall player. So that's kind of the upside that you're looking for Ayton, that Tim is looking for Ayton. But just the fact that he based off of all those preseason numbers, basically, to project Ayton, I don't know if that's the smartest move. It could work out for him, but there's a high likelihood that it might not work out for him with that pick.
And I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong. Man. But yeah, it's not looking good.
I mean, I like this team. I think everyone's teams are pretty good, and there's going to be pickups along the way, right? There's always injuries, pickups.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I may have been too harsh on him earlier, saying like the credibility of the league, but yeah, it was kind of tough.
I think you're pretty passionate about the argument.
I'm pretty black and white. I see I either like it or don't, right? And Tim's team, it's not as like I think he could have crushed it, but the middle rounds he kind of got sidetracked, especially when he forgot to pick. that was inexcusable.
He literally just checked out in the middle of the draft.
Yeah, it's weird.
Literally, right? That's what happened.
He's got picks that make up, because if we wouldn't be scrutinizing Ayton if he was in the third round, right? But he got Love in the third round, so if you can almost flip flop him, it's okay. I just don't know if his strengths are highlighted enough to overcome how strong the league is. But yeah, went through 10 teams. Went a quick recap of the league. I think this has been a pretty solid podcast. Yeah, especially for our first one. I think we did a pretty good job. We got some kinks to work out, but I'm happy with it. Lost our moderator halfway through, but because we ran too long. Had to overcome that. We were shooting for a solid 30 minutes, but didn't work out that way. Yep. Well, thanks for joining me, staying the entire time. For those that have made it towards the end, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week, or next time, or next year maybe. Yeah. Don't promise them next week. Yeah, sorry, that was ambitious. All right, have a good one, guys. All right, thanks, Ronnie.